And welcome all. Welcome, Kenny. How are you?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Nice for you to join us.
Yeah.
I just walked in. Yeah, he's literally like 20 seconds ago.
I honked at you. I was like, give him a ride? No, I'm an exercise.
All right. Well, let's get going. And I'd like to call this meeting into order. We have a few items in the agenda. We wanted to begin, first of all, by welcoming Mr. Willie Myers, who's now representing South Hilo. This is his first meeting with us, so welcome. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
Okay. And if I could just get right into the agenda, we have a couple of big items. Number one, we'd like to discuss with Mr. Clayton Hanma, who is the Director of Parks and Recreations, regarding the implementation of stewardship grants to community groups. He was with us a few months ago, and this is essentially a follow-up. We also have on the agenda Mrs. Shelley Mahi, who's the Native Tenant Protection Council, and we're going to be discussing preservation of some open space and natural resources, and also addressing Native Hawaiian gathering rights on lands owned by the County of Hawaii. So without further ado, let's get right into the public statements. And I just wanted to remind you that there will be a strict 3-minute, just so that we can get the meeting going and maintaining a good pace, a 3-minute time limit for each of these statements. I would like to call up Mr. Gene Tamashiro.
Here I am.
Okay, you have the floor.
Okay, where do I?
You can just sit right there at the end.
Thank you. Okay. Aloha, everyone.
Hello.
My name is Gene Tamashiro. I live in Hilo, Kaumana, and I've been on the Big Island now for 5 years. My family, originally from Okinawa, moved to Big Island through Ola, where my mom was born, and my dad in Honoka. So my family's been here about 100 years now. And growing up, I never knew what happened to Hawaii. And actually my father, who fought in the 100th Infantry Battalion, as well as the 442nd, saw many of his friends die in Europe, fighting for truth and freedom in the name of the US Constitution. So right now, truth, freedom, our capacity to have home rule amongst our neighbors that we might not agree on everything with, it's okay. But truth is on the line. We get up in the morning and we have to face ourselves and how we operate and how we take action in a world that has been largely co-opted by people who commit crimes in the name of good government. And I don't have to get into what the Federal Reserve does every day and have been doing for 100 years plus. But there are some real serious issues that I'm looking forward to people, and I don't know if any of you took an oath to tell the truth through the US Constitution, but I think it matters. I really believe the truth matters. In regards to the land that you will all, and we will all be discussing, I can only stay for an hour, but that land, as some of you might have heard, and there will be others representing the issue of that land, was actually never lawfully transferred from the owners to the Republic of Hawaii, and then the Republic of Hawaii transferred it as a ceded land to the United States. So for those that the truth matters, and it's hard to find folks who are willing to stand because our paychecks count on us perpetuating and pushing the ball down, kicking the can down the road. And I've been an angry person before, and I really feel that that's not productive, but I really feel that as we all are God's kids, that you please give the due process of finding out what is the truth. Spend some time and some money, that we do have some money to invest in. What is the truth of the claim that there are families alive and well from the king, the last sacred vine king, not brought forward through an election process, but the last sacred vine king is Kauikeaole number 3. And he did say that when he created the Mahele, that he was going to reserve, I'll just wrap this up real quickly, that he was going to reserve the land that we now call ceded land, 1.8 million acres. And you folks have the details of other county holdings. But really, the county as well as the DLNR need to present evidence that they have lawful title. And if they don't have really lawful title evidence, can we as a community fund the process of an official investigation on the claims that the heirs of Kauikeaole are alive and well? And that's all I have to say. I look forward to, if Akua calls me, as he did today, to just speak with as much aloha and transparency as I can. Please, all of you, I recommend that we not fight each other and that we trust each other, because we're all on our own right now. The world is not friendly to the common man. And much love and gratitude to you all.
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair. If I could call Miss Barbara Bell.
Hello.
Hello.
I'll be very quick. My name is Barbara Bell. I live presently in Kapoho. And I'm here just to say hello because my schedule doesn't often mesh with yours. So since I could be here today, I thought I'd come. And I'm working with Oshi and quite a few others on the Hara property, which is south of Waiupai, Puna district. And we do have a management, a nonprofit that's interested in doing management on that property. I'll just call it the Hara property. And that's really all I have to say, is that we are working on it, and I just thought I'd say hello and make visual contact.
Thank you.
What property is that?
It's south of the Waiupai Marine Reserve in vacation. I guess we're number 1 this year. Thank you.
Vacation other car,
That's right. Yeah, so by the way, thank you for seeing the value of that property. Aloha.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Ms. Bell. I'd like to call Mr. Oshi.
It's actually,
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Ms. Oshi.
how would you know? Oshi Sincerian. I'll say my name so
Sincerian.
you don't have to struggle. It's a very easy name. So anyway, well, so again, I'll be brief. So you've got, with Barbara, working on that property, which is currently rated 1, which is so exciting. We're very excited about it. And we just had a gathering yesterday at Barbara's house, inviting the whole community to give their input on any concerns they have, any questions they have, and focusing on management and what is really people's visions for long range, and how would the community be involved. It's very important, of course, that the community be involved in the stewardship of this land. And there were a number of people there from the group Malama Opuna, which is Renee originally started, but there's some other members, and Koksa, for one notable one, who've been very involved with this property in terms of removing invasive species and doing native plantings, which is a very important piece in the acquisition of this property. So I'm here to be very supportive of the maintenance fund that would potentially be a source in the future for helping fund any maintenance on this. And also, Ken, to give you a face, he will be the appraiser person. We're hoping that proceeds on this property, correct? Or you'd be involved in the appraisal issue, not the person who actually does it, am I correct?
We'll order an appraisal, yes.
Order an appraisal, yes, I can get my term right, sorry. But we're hoping the appraiser will move forward and hoping to apply for a legacy land grant. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, what's the status of that,
Of what?
that property?
We're not there yet. That'll be in the financial fluid.
Okay. So if I could have Mr. Clayton Hanma.
Good morning, everyone. Yeah, Clayton Holman, Director of Parks and Recreations. Yeah, just briefly, just to give you guys an update of where we're at on the stewardship grant for PONC. We do have our application prepared for those to apply for the grant. Maybe I can pass this around so you guys can take a look at the grant application. But this will be available for the public to apply, and those with 501c3 nonprofit status to go and apply for stewardship grant monies to help maintain the properties that we do pick up. Currently, we spent about, I would say, about 200, maybe about $30,000 we spent in maintenance of Kipapa Park. And we have studies for flora and fauna studies, contracts out there for Kaiholena, Kava, Kipapa, and we also did O'oma lands as well too. Those studies will come out to about another $221,000. And that will include archaeological studies for both Kaiholena and O'oma. So we'll have roughly about $500,000 in balance in the fund for maintenance. And if you look at grants of being maybe $50,000 or so, maybe we've got the opportunity to award 10 grantees out there with more monies coming in. So we can also use those monies as well too for parks and purchasing some equipment and maintenance for O'oma that we plan to do. But again, we got to get those studies done with the flora and fauna studies and the archaeological studies. So that's kind of where we're at right now. We're going to work with probably finance to put out the advertisements probably in July for the PONC maintenance fund to be given out. So that's kind of the timetable we're working at right now.
Any questions?
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
So you have to be a 501c3 in order to apply?
Yes, I believe so. It's right inside the
And so who's going to review these?
That's a good question. I'll probably be reviewing them, and I'll probably have somebody from finance reviewing them as well too. So we'll take a look at them. And again, the study, those will be awarded probably after the studies for the flora and fauna and the archaeological, which will take about 3 months to get done. So right now we're in the phase of we're in the process of doing Kava, Kaiholena, and Kipapa, which is executed in April of this year. So that is ongoing. O'oma is still routing. The contracts for O'oma is still routing, and the archaeological contracts are also still routing. So both of them will take about 3 months to get done.
Okay, so if you're not a nonprofit organization, you can go under the auspices of
An umbrella.
an
Yes,
umbrella
absolutely,
organization.
of another organization.
And a lot has to do with county code as far as monies, transparency.
And then the primary method of soliciting will be through newspaper ads? Or-
Yeah, advertising out there, putting it out there. But we will give them 30 days, so from August 1st through September 1st, we'll be, they'll have the time to put in their applications for those grants.
So there won't be any direct contact with some of the groups that submitted the original proposals?
What original proposals?
The ones that we see to review to then prioritize.
Well, there hasn't been any, because the forms just got reduced, so there couldn't really be any proposals until now.
No, but I mean, to go back, say, to the folks that nominated the WyoPi, would they be notified that these funds might be available, or they're gonna find out through the media?
You mean special notification, like this for those kind of folks? It could be, if you want to put together a list, I'm sure it could be.
Yeah, because we don't know who's out there that wants to apply, so we're gonna have to get them out through the media. But if there are those that are interested and, you know, we have a list going, we can actually send notifications out to them as well too.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say thank you because as one of the folks that helped put together that legislation, the intent was to get money out to local communities and empower folks to do work in areas that they're most familiar with. So thanks for facilitating that process. If you can, thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions from council members? Yes, sir.
You know, it's just like it's open. Isn't that the Kanaka Maoli's culture? How come the park is involved in all of this? Not our kapunas, not the people that live in our Pua. Those are the people who have to say over all of these things they want to come into their land. The resources that you're talking about, put in the Olena, put in the Kalo and do all of these things, that is the native tenants' rights. That's us. I'm one of them that lives on the land, that plant all of these things. And for you to go claim all of this, underneath what permission that you have to go do this? You see, these lands are already kapu already. It's not where people just can come inside there and just go make something over the land. You have to go and plant what was on the land to begin with. And it's usually the ohana that lives there, the families. And I don't see none of them here. I'm one of them, the native tenant. Underneath the Hawaiian Kingdom, underneath the laws that we have here. I have the laws that are underneath the Hawaiian Kingdom. I'd like to show you guys this thing. You guys, all of these people that I have right here now that you see, it's in the world court now. It's to do with this kind of deals that goes on to do with our land. Folks have no authority to sell our land, to make any kind of decisions over the land. You guys could be charged with war crimes.
I think, you know,
What was your question?
My question is, who gave you to come outside here and say that these are the people, you guys gonna give them the money to go do this?
you know, I think what Mr. Hanma is referring to is there's specific language that was passed in the charter as well as the county code. And I think as the Director of Parks and Recreation, Mr. Hanma is just following the specific requirements that were articulated in those sections. So as far as the legal basis of that, you know, that's not an issue to discuss now. This is not the time or the place to discuss that.
This is all to do with it now because it's to do with funds that you guys trying to go get now. No, this is to do with funds that the state of Hawaii gonna get in July. This is what this is all about, who gonna get what. And these are the people that make the decision, ain't you guys? The people that make the decision is the safety committee. That's who they are. This whole deal that you guys doing. The people of the state of Hawaii, or one that you guys call yourself, we're not one state, but never was, never could be one. So, just remember what you guys doing. I try to speak for my children. I'm a widow,
Actually,
okay? And all of these things that I talk about is to do with us.
it's
true.
It's
Yes,
true.
sir.
It ain't nothing to do with you folks here.
Okay,
Okay,
It's
so
to
you
do
wanna
with
testify
the
more?
Kanaka.
we would like to take a 5-minute
Oh.
recess.
Okay. And you can testify for your 3 minutes after.
You know, this is a real conversation that
This is what it's all about.
needs to happen. and
So you can testify
if
again
5
after he's
minutes
done,
can't
Uncle, for
calm
your,
people
every
down,
3
Yes,
minutes,
that's fine.
the pink paper that went in.
But
You
it
can
is, the
testify some
legal
more
aspect
after.
is pretty clear.
Yes, absolutely. So, we're recessed for 5 minutes.
That's all I like. Make sure that these
Thank you.
guys know what they're doing. And then like they say, I'm just doing my job. You do your job, I'm gonna do my job as a kupuna.
Can we have a prayer? I just wanted to,
Pulikako.
Hulikako, to hope that the meeting goes well today
Yeah,
and
thank
that
you.
everyone works together in the best interest of everybody and the public trust. And that we appreciate everybody's efforts in keeping the county beautiful and doing such a great job and having an interest in keeping Hawaii as open space. And also respecting the Kanaka as well. We look forward to an amiable working relationship. Mahalo and thank you. God bless everyone.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
5-minute break or what?
They're fine.
If we could call the meeting back to order. Bill, I think you wanted to make a statement.
You know, I know the next item on the agenda is Native Tenant Protection Council to discuss with PONC on how to preserve open space and natural resources and address Native Hawaiian gathering rights on lands owned by the County of Hawaii. I think, you know, one of the, again, this commission, all it can do is what it's specifically tasked to do by either authority of the charter or authority of the Hawaii County Code. And if you look at section 2-217, under the Hawaii County Code that says duties and responsibilities of the commission. This commission has a very finite and very definitive purpose and authority and duties and responsibilities. And that is, the duties and responsibilities of this commission are to develop and submit to the mayor an initial island-wide prioritized list of qualified lands worthy of preservation within 6 months of being confirmed by the commission by the council, to the commission by the council. To update this list at any time, but at least annually by December 31st of each year, to explore methods of funding land acquisitions and make recommendations to the mayor, and shall give emphasis to land acquisitions where the county's contributions can be leveraged to obtain state, federal, and private funds. That's all this commission or this body is authorized to do. Doing any more would be going against the rules of the county. So just so that we know, moving forward, that's where we are. If there's questions regarding stewardship of the lands, if there's questions regarding maintenance of the land, that's a different area, a different department, not this commission. So that's all I'd like to say. And we can move forward.
Okay. If we can call Ms. Shelley Mahi, and you now have the floor.
Yes, thank you. Is the mic on?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I wanted to address, first off, since you mentioned the charter. I was going over the different charters, and it looks like actually you do, it does follow under the venue of this commission to look at better stewardship and recommend different policies. And also that for land acquisition, that there is the alternative for non-purchase acquisitions under federal undertaking memorandum agreement with native tenants and whatnot without a non-purchase. I wanted to thank you for letting me have the opportunity to speak and to present these issues. I gave a copy of folder of different documents to the prospective heads. What I wanted to go into, first of all, is that under PONC, what's on the agenda today, you state that to preserve open space and natural resource and address Native Hawaiian gathering rights. Actually, we're looking at more than just gathering rights. There's a lot of issues involved with native tenants. Also that these are lands owned by the county. This is actually incorrect and actually not possible because these are patented allodium system under the kingdom, the previous title that was passed through the territory into the state. I wanted to note that there was a communication that specified that attached is the last meeting agenda, and that we don't have a policy on native tenants in open spaces. And so actually, because through the charter, you have the venue to make recommendations on those issues, I believe that this is a proper thing that the county can do. So far as the issue of reserving the rights of Aboriginal Native tenants, Kamehameha III reserved the rights of Native tenants in statutes of public recognition, and the Native Tenant Protection Council, with over 32 members and members of the general public and community, seek better conditions and consultation compliance in situations where conflicts have arisen about lawful customs and usage for the Kanaka and Kuleana. County of Hawaii is presently in conflict with Native tenants, incorrectly stating that the county owns the land. So I wanted to go into different issues of what kind of land might fall inside of a PONC area that have already acquired and are seeking to acquire. Ancestral and ancient laws are involved, Meheli titles and land held in shared interests of the allodium, land commission awards, Kuleana, Pahali, which is house lots. You have Ahupua'a and land commission awards to the chiefs in Konahiki and government Ahupua'as. The issue of government Ahupua'as brings up the issue of so-called ceded land, which the county does admit in a communication from Corporation Council that the United States never owned the so-called ceded land, so it's actually impossible for the county and PONC to acquire these lands in full if the United States does not own them, the state nor the county can. Also, that within these cultural sites, rural patent grants, estuaries, fish hatcheries, coastal lands that are in conservation zones. And I wanted to point out that here is the King's Statutes books, which is what a lot of the Hawaii revised statutes are based on. These are the Hawaii statutes. And basically that the native tenants have the rights of piscary, which is fishery, and that it goes into the different grounds that they have the Hulihe'e grounds, Kilohe'e grounds, Luhe'e grounds, and Malolo grounds, and extends out into the ocean and the fisheries. And that we wanted to make sure, so far as issues of Kanaka in open spaces, that they also have posh rights that should extend beyond when the sun goes down. Because presently, the mayor's office is issuing or dictating to native tenant proper party claimant heirs in different open spaces under PONC that they can only go on the right side of the pond and they're not allowed there after dark, when in fact that the native tenant rights are reserved. And it says so in Civil Case 9073 that Ken and different people have been in PONC are dealing with. And it says in B on page 4 that reservation of the rights of native tenants contained in grants 1530, 993, and 7715. Well, for example, that's Timoteo Keawe. You're on the island of Moko o Keawe. And we need to have proper respect for the Keawe family. And 7715, that's Hilea, that's also part of PONC. That's Lota Kapua Iwa. That's King Kamehameha V. So there hasn't been really proper due diligence of all the heirs, nor calling for the heirs of Kamehameha, which do exist. Now, inside of the different cases, I wanted to bring out different laws and statutes that would help you to understand that, for one, the county is bound to the United States Constitution. They're a municipal corporation of the state, and thereby are bound to even the apology bill. So in this case, the Hawaiians who are native tenants on these properties, they have a constitutionally protected Native Hawaiian right, and they cannot be charged with criminal trespassing. Under the Hawaii revised laws of 1925, and I do have a copy here, inside of there it mentions all the crown lands and it lists all the native tenant rights, all subject to the rights of native tenants. And these are the laws that pass through into the county. So the county is bound to issues of raw patents, land commission awards, as precedent set in court cases. Also that within the county of Hawaii, we have the Kuleana land tax exemption, which on the back page of the county, it states all about the native tenant. For the purposes of this section, Kuleana land means those lands granted to native tenants pursuant to the law of 1850 entitled an act confirming certain resolutions of the king and privy council passed on 21st day of December 1849, granting to the common people allodial titles for their own lands and house lots, and certain other privileges as amended, entitled an act to amend an act for people with allodial titles for their own lands and house lots, and other further amended subsequent legislation. Even Congress is in support of native tenant rights, because even in the 1900s they settled the Organic Act of Prince Kohio. And what has happened is that they wanted to do rehabilitation of Hawaiians through the land. And so this has been going on for quite some time. And so now we're hoping that even through the description in the Kuleana land tax exemption, you might understand more of the laws and whatnot in play and the respective rights of the native tenant. The native tenant also has upper tenant water rights. He has rights underneath the chiefs, and in government ahupuas and whatnot is the House of Nobles through the Privy Council. In this document that is from Majestic Ka'u, let's see, I'm on page 16. It mentions that there are the different respective ahupua'as when in case of Honuapo, which the county seeks to purchase, is under Land Commission Award 8559 to King Lunalilo. So the county cannot surpass the rights of the heirs of King Lunalilo through the probate of Naukana and other issues, and it's 2,200 acres. So there's a list of different government ahupua'as and different even Punalu'u and Hilea. So these are all subject to the rights of the native tenants. And so also that there's these upper tenant water rights. I wanted to go into page 17, that in HRS 172-11, that the rights of the heirs in of the royal patent, even if the land was alienated. And many of these lands in Ka'u, different areas of old sugarcane properties, that there has been subsequent adverse possession, illegal S grants or statehood grants, and counterfeit warranty deeds conveying these titles. And so there has been clouded title. And so actually according to state law, HRS 172-11, and others listed on page 17, that the rights of these royal patent heirs and native tenants in and the rights of the konohiki. And a konohiki, for the record, would never sell the land out from the interests of the allodium of the king, or the sovereign. And the sovereign holds the fee. Many people have question about fee simple and allodial title land. Well, it's the sovereign that owns the fee. And it's divided between the chiefs and the maka'ainana, the native tenants. And there was a subsequent division before of 1.8 million acres coming out of a parcel out of Honuapo. So it's like Uncle and different people are saying, it is a very serious issue. But under PONC, we're looking at preserving open space and hopefully working with also the Cultural Resource Commission and doing the right thing so far as native tenants and the law. On page 18 is the communication, November 12th. And 19 basically stating that although ceded to the United States, lands never became property of the United States. On page 20 is the map. Now these maps, basically what we're looking at is the difference between what is today at the Department of Planning, and actually some of the ahupuas are made to go sideways, and there's been changes and there's been a highway to come through. But before was the King's Trail, and had the upper Kalalaiki Trail going down to the international port that went to Vancouver and went to New Zealand. These are actually from Majestic Ka'u from report 80-2. These are all the subsequent names, including here's Kawa Bay, this is Timoteo Keawe. These are all registered in Department of Interior in early 1900 maps. So it actually registers that the Timoteo Keawe family has the right for the fish pond, and that there is salt pans and whatnot in these areas too, and that this was an old Keawe complex And Hilea, which is right next door, that was the old government complex before the palace, before Maui, before Liho and Kona, it was Hilea. So out of respect of nation building and different things that are going on today, that we need to keep that in mind and respect what's going on, because the Hawaiians, the Kanakamo'oli, actually under executive order do have a right to self-determination. And so I also wanted to bring up that I'm making available, if they don't have it, a copy of this Volume 2 Territory Laws of 1925, because what it has in it is the last act of Queen Liliuokalani, which is a Homestead Act. And it was passed just 8 days before the overthrow. And what it said in it was basically opposite of how the native tenants were treated. The native tenants were called squatters by U.S. Fish and Wildlife, that they were squatters growing taro by the spring. And so actually you cannot be a squatter. There are homesteaders, there are native tenants, and there are proper party heirs. And they have rights even that were reserved in Civil Case 9073. And also that this book has in it, which I use for testimony in Popo Velo and Kaunamano, is that there is all of the crown lands listed in this book. And so now these are all passed through the territory into the state. These are all subject to the rights of the native tenant. Then according to the law and the Homestead Act, it starts off with a 1/4 acre for a house, a 1/4 acre for a taro patch, an extra 1/4 acre in Kona. So it is suggested too, if there are areas of open space and acquisition, you might say, for open space through PONC, use the maintenance fund properly, you can save, say in the issue of Popo Velo, $10.8 million by not purchasing a crown land that you could actually never own title to. So in this respect, the Native Tenant Protection Council also, let's see, move ahead to, supports the probate 463 that had gone in before the Supreme Court so far as issues of so-called ceded lands, Office of Hawaiian Affairs. And I also, bringing up Office of Hawaiian Affairs, so far as a direct cease and desist was sent to the Corporation Council and the Mayor's Office, BLNR, the HPD of Nalehu, that they were not to remove the native tenants, that there was an investigation going on. But no, Corporation Counsel Joseph Kamelamela stated he did receive the cease and desist from OHA, but that he didn't have to listen to OHA, and that he didn't know Kai Markel of the Compliance Division. But I would suggest in the future that PONC has some sort of policy or something that when there's an issue of a cease and desist involving native tenants or proper party claimants, that the Corporation Council should look at the laws and advise properly. So also, that under the HPD, I did speak with the new chief of Nalehu, so far as issues of the key being held at the station, the gate, access after sundown and whatnot. In the Hawaii County Police Law Enforcement Code of Ethics, it does state, as a law enforcement, I'll just read briefly, as a law enforcement officer, my fundamental duty is to serve mankind, to safeguard lives and property, to protect the innocent against deception, the weak against oppression or intimidation, and the peaceful against violence or disorder, and to respect the constitutional rights of all men to liberty, equality, and justice. And it also says that they will obey the laws of the land. Now I'm here to tell you that the United States Constitution at this point is the supreme law of the land, and it's also based within respect to Joint Resolution Number 1, Section 203, so far as goes into defunct sugarcane properties, which is involved with PONC areas as well. Now I'm going on page 30, and a draft of non-hindered Hawaiian nationals in the interim of Hawaii made. And basically that you're looking at compliance with ordinance 0842, which is consultation necessary to your local certified government in the interim during the nation building self-determination times. There's the apology bill, and that there's also linked to the Cultural Resource Commission. I don't know where they stand on taking complaints with native tenants or whatnot, or where this commission would stand other than recommendations under your charter. Also on page 31 is for the betterment of Native Hawaiian Kanaka Maoli and defunct sugarcane land holdings to put immediate freeze on all sugarcane lands, especially within PONC areas, that these are subject to the rights of the native tenants, and that it's an issue of rehabilitating Hawaiians through the land. And so that's through page 33. But on, skipping ahead to page 36, that is a letter that was sent out December 3rd to the White House concerning the defunct sugarcane properties, which does include properties within PONC areas that you have on record right now. So basically, I just wanted to bring out the issue of native tenant rights and to make sure that everybody's on the same page, and that even DLNR, when I spoke with them, John Holly, he's a daycare officer, he stated that he did not want his division to be violating any federal laws or any human rights treaty violations. And what I'm going to close up to say is just to let you know that because of actions of the county mayor's office that was not directly approved by PONC in their policy making under their charter, there's been some serious offenses, also including that the county came in 5 days before the Court of Appeal using SWAT, and that houses were bulldozed, people were injured. As I mentioned, there was a cease and desist, and there was from OHA, and there was also a U.S. Coast Guard incident report issued because of threatening to taser the native tenants for forced removal, and that there had been a letter that had gone in from Department of Justice, Criminal Civil Rights Division, that did state that the native tenant Hawaiians were not to be removed by excessive force using tasers. So by threatening them at a police commission hearing, that the U.S. Coast Guard incident report was filed with Petty Officer Dove in Washington. So the issue is from now on, what will be the policy on native tenants? How can we handle this properly by the law? Laws extended through Volume 2 of the territory, laws extended from the statutes, working properly under consultation also with federal undertakings. Federal undertakings I learned about in college under Cultural Resource Management, and that basically any time that you have federal money coming in, then that's mandatory consultation with Native Hawaiians. And you cannot get a, under Ordinance 0842, the CLG, that won't happen either. So basically, any time that you've imported federal money, then you have to do consultation. So right now, because there was selective consultation, it wasn't open to all family members, the issue of non-due diligence with native tenants. I'd like to jump ahead, that I want to put on record that the Native Tenant Protection Council is doing a call out for papers so far as suggestions on the issue from cultural practitioners, Halio Halio Iwi, Halio Pahu, and the Canoe Hale, and that also that Kahuna Lapa'au, hula practitioners, and others who would like to submit their suggestions, as only Kanaka can define themselves under international law. And so we want to, in reference to the apology bill, and even what Senator Brian Schatz said, that we need to do things that will make the apology bill real. And that in this respect, there's actually laws in play, and you have the room to make certain policy that will relieve not only the Hawaiians, but the public in general, that we have a sort of a safe ground when it comes to 2% money being spent and what it's being spent on, and not to violate encroachment of cultural landscapes. And the last thing I needed to say is that I just want to please ask that so far as the no spray zone that was issued by State Historic Preservation Office, that it was supposed to be to protect the springs and whatnot that the Kanaka use, and that is their opportune water rights under 174C. Basically that the Parks and Recs has been completely non-compliant in respect of the no spray zone, as well as the state for the area. And so we would like better cooperation, and that no grant that is given out for stewardship program is allowed for any poison, herbicide, or pesticide. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms.
If you have
Mahi.
any questions at all.
Questions from the committee members?
I do have a suggestion form in the back, so far as, and then I'm just, one thing I will close in saying is that I was contacted, the Native Tenant Protection Council, I'm a co-founder with Pua Swain, and we were contacted by the Office of the Inspector General, Department of Interior, who sent a complaint form. So far as, we're looking for, I cannot undo what was done in the past, but so far as a future reference of preserving open space and natural resources, working with Native tenants, I believe that it is possible to have a better working relationship through, I'm suggesting, amendment towards non-purchase of property that is technically not for sale and has clouded title, and use the money for other projects. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
We were not aware of any testimony beyond the one just presented by Mrs. Shelley Mahi.
Oh, my paper says I won't talk this.
For
The
3
case that
minutes.
she talk about, it's about me.
3 minutes.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, God, for giving me the opportunity and the time to speak. But wow, I got only 3 minutes. And I'm 71 years old, by the way. So thank you for you guys giving me these 3 minutes. Okay, God. Anyway, reserving the rights of the native tenant, like I say, I am the native tenant. You're looking at them. I'm not the crime over here. Okay? The land that you guys are occupying, remember something, it's Hawaiian Kingdom. The laws that I'm going to talk about is treaties. The treaties that we have with the other countries. And also to do with this land, it's to do with the no spraying too. I'm the one that went jail for that, for the no spraying. I'm the one that made the 911 call. All in saying, you get all the birds that stay dead, 7 of them in 1 year time. As I speak, you guys can go out here with a river stick. The guy's still there spraying right now as I speak. He's spraying in the water where the ducks and everything stay. So be aware of what is going on in front of your big fat nose. I come here because I will speak up for my motherland, Hawaii. And it should be protected. This thing about they talk about the 2%, they had no business involving in our lands. Kim, when say that when the 2% first came out was Mayor Kim. He was opposed of all of these, knowing that it was going to get trouble. Like now, it's coming to do with the native tenant. And right now, if you look at everything as I speak, Mayor Billy Kanoe buying lands all over the land, all over this island, and making them into parks. And they're making them into culture stuff, and they're using our resources for the general public. We are the beneficiaries. You're looking at them. Me and my sons, my kids, my ohana. including all of us here. But it seems that the laws that you guys have here, it doesn't include us. Hear me, as a native tenant, planting food. I plant out, this is in a loe, in the sand, on Kawa. And if you go look, you can see the guy Ratman. He's in here with me. All of this is the kind of food that I plant, the ipo and all of this. This big fat pig I raised on down there, on the land. One wild pig was given to me for my birthday. Here, Ratman, the guy that do the EVs.
Sir, if you could just wrap up your.
And this is some of the deals that I have. All my case right now stay in the world court. I went to the state Supreme Court and I lost everything. But Judge Pelosi wrote 17 pages about me. You guys should read them. And he talked about I am a subject of the Hawaiian Kingdom. The state of Hawaii have no jurisdiction over us. All of these things that I talk about, including my house, staying here, all in Rambos. This is what they have done to my house, and I thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to speak.
Thank you very much.
Kui ho malama pono kukino, aloha ai aloha kako. Anuai ki ia, aloha. I'm going to translate for my brother over here, Moses. He cannot speak.
Moses will be our last statement.
Chad, if you want to.
You have 3 minutes, sir.
Oh, Chad too. He wants to speak too, Chad.
We're gonna have to go strictly according to the people that have submitted and signed up, just in fairness to all concerned.
Okay.
So, Mr. Moses, Heanu, you have 3 minutes.
You guys have it about 10 minutes?
No, I was on the agenda, that's why.
Oh, but you're not on the agenda.
Can you hear?
Yes.
My name is Moses Inoka Ian. I represent the Hawaiian government as it stands today. Now, I prepared a document that has the maps that you would take and read.
And read this document. You give all you guys here to make copies.
That God wants to for you to judge. Then these documents will give you to the point of government are recognizing the sovereign kingdom of the Hawaiian people. And I represent that entity as the court in suit of the son. Son, because I am ever I have proposed a peaceful transition from the de facto military occupation to the de jure Hawaiian government and address that to your officials, the governor, the mayor, Department of Land and Natural Resources. Have all received documents. Some people in the process of a peaceful transition. That's the best I can do to keep a peaceful transition simple. Without long journey for our neighbors.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. Thank you very much.
And who the boss are you? I'm going to give you a copy. You the guy?
If you can give it to me.
Oh, once it's
Just give me one.
the rest of you guys will make copy of it. Thank you guys, you know.
Thank you very
Okay,
much.
you don't try to understand something, but this, everything that we say, we're not gonna change nothing. That's all came from the law book of Kamehameha III, okay? It's nothing that we make up, trying to make into laws. It's the law that protects every one of us that gather here, even the dead.
Thank you so much, sir. I
Thank you.
appreciate
Oh,
that.
Malama Pono.
If we could just go on into our next item, which is the approval of the minutes. Any committee members have, or all committee members have taken a quick look. Is there any comments on the agendas for the last meeting that we need to address?
Hey guys.
Do I have a motion to accept the notes, the minutes from the last meeting as is?
I was jumping the gun, I was making a motion to do that, except for the minutes from last meeting.
I second.
Any opposed? All in favor? Okay, so the minutes from the last meeting are approved. Written communication. We've had a suggestion form received on April 28th from Carol Van Camp. This is regarding the acreage adjacent to the Hilo Municipal Golf Course. And you all have a copy of that in the package that was sent to you. Do we just accept this? Yeah. I request a motion to accept this written communication as is.
Also move.
Second? I'll second. Any discussion? Any opposed? All in favor? Aye. Okay.
No question. My brother was supposed to appear here to testify this morning. Apparently, he became ill. And is there some way that he can be, like, say, like a written,
Presenter. It was supposed to actually be part of my presentation, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we're gonna have to keep things moving at this
okay, no
point.
problem.
If you could submit a written communication for the
That's
next
correct.
meeting.
That's right. This type of communication, you know, if he does it between now and the other meeting, he's more than welcome. And we'll consider it. Okay, we're gonna skip ahead since Mr. Van Bergen is in the other council meeting. If we could move along to Bill's Office of the Corporation Council report.
Yeah, you know, just like last month, or last meeting, there's nothing more to report. You know, there's nothing really pending in front of any judiciary body. So, and there's no real activity pending from the county council as well. So pretty much status quo. I think we'll get more information once we submit our recommendations to the mayor and the council regarding our prioritized list. Up to the stands right now, pretty much not much going on outside of this room.
Well, good, that's actually good news. All right, similar thing to mine, chairperson report, beyond just meetings, you know, announcing that which we can do later. But I have nothing to report as a chairperson.
I was wondering if anyone got to go out and do the public informational meetings that we talked about. We were gonna do presentations. Did anybody get to do that?
We talked a little bit about that at the last meeting. I went out and did a couple, and
I did
then
two.
previous to last meeting. Yeah, I spoke to the North and South Hall, community development plan groups.
And that was it.
As I said last meeting, it went really well. North Hall community development plan folks are fairly open mind, familiar with the process, and had questions regarding funding primarily. And the South Hall community development folks had a lot of questions. They were very interested because they were stimulated by some issues regarding a grant of easement that they were, the county was working out with the landowners. So a lot of questions about easements actually. I thought it went well. It's good to get more questions this year.
And I passed out information at a meeting that Brenda Ford was holding in my district for transportation issues, which actually happened to be on the front page of the paper today. So I passed out information.
So you're on the
And
front page of the
CDs.
paper?
No, the transportation,
Yeah.
Puna emergency. It was one of those meetings, so I provided information, but didn't speak.
Okay. I was able to do a couple meetings in Kona. Still have not been able to rearrange for my schedule to get the meetings here in Hilo, but we'll do so shortly so that we can get this process underway. Just for your benefit, really, the forms will go out inviting the public for to recommend properties that they see fit for our purposes. So we're in the process of gathering those back and compiling our reports to that. Okay. Anything else? Going into new business, we were going to consider and discuss the establishment of an ad hoc investigative committee to conduct potential site visits on properties submitted by the public. Any additional thoughts on that? You want a 5-minute recess? Are we okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay, why don't we do that? Let's address this when we come back. It's right now, according to my watch, 11:10. Let's come back at 11:15.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we were about to discuss some new business and specifically the establishment of a committee to conduct potential site visits on the properties in question. Tim, I don't know if you had a thought and you wanted to postpone your idea. Any other thoughts
You
from
just
our
want
last
to get rid
meeting?
of this banana fields.
That's right, yeah.
So I wasn't here the last meeting. Did we decide we're gonna do this? And I read through the minutes and I wasn't quite
We couldn't
sure.
discuss it last time because it wasn't on the
On the
agenda.
So
agenda.
now we're actually.
So we're discussing what we want to do.
And I think, Bill, did you suggest we create perhaps a standing committee but not name the members so that there was more flexibility or something like that?
No, I think pursuant to the sunshine law on requirements, we would have to name the members.
Oh, my
because
apologies.
It couldn't be, it can be more than 2, but it can't be more than 4. So, you can't be rotating 4 members. So I think if there's going to be if we're going to create an ad hoc standing investigatory committee, then that's fine, but, more than 2 members, but no more than 4.
And they need to be named.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And so that would be for the whole island.
Correct. So, you can name 2 East Hawaii and 2 West Hawaii that they can meet any time. You can have up to 4. So there's a lot of flexibility, inherent flexibility with the process. And the only requirement is that before any commission action is taken on any recommendation, there has to be a meeting where the recommendation is put forth, and then a subsequent meeting where action is taken. And the only basis for that is because the public should be afforded the opportunity to know what the recommendation is so that they can attend the next meeting and provide input or comment if necessary.
Sure.
And so that's just the real
So
requirement.
looking at our calendar, the submissions are due by the end of June, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
The end of June. So we wouldn't know till the end of June what properties we might visit. And we wouldn't know that until the August meeting, what properties have been submitted.
The best thing about that is if you create the committee now,
Uh-huh.
you don't have to comply with sunshine law. So if, as the list comes in and the committee, the ad hoc committee wants to that ad hoc committee doesn't have to comply with sunshine law. They can meet at any time, they can discuss the items at any time. So as the applications come in, there can be discussion inherent within the committee to decide is a site visit or whatever needed. And then if you guys want to give formal direction at, you know, the next meeting, that'd be fine too, because they don't have to wait, you know, but I know the reporting criteria. One of the things,
Excuse me, if I could just interject just really quickly, just for clarification, so as the applications come in and that Alex could provide to that committee, those applications one at a time, two at a time, however, just on a
and
regular.
if they would want to schedule a site visit, that's more than fine.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can, that might be a good way to kind of address the issue, is allow the committee to decide, you know, if there's sufficient enough cause at this point in time. Because, you know, until you create a list, there's really not, you know, there's a real minimal direction
Right.
as to, you know, what properties are we gonna go to, why are we going to this property, such and such. But, you know, I think if you leave some discretion to the committee, you know, that might be good, because there's so much time between meetings. So then, you know, nobody's really sitting stagnant, you know, things can be getting done, and then they can come back and already agendize a report. You know, just precautionary, you know, looking forward, being progressive, is agendize report from standing committee, investigative committee regarding site visits. You don't have to specifically say what site visits. You'll say the recommendation and the action to be taken will be specifically agendized at the next meeting. And I know one of the things other commissions do is they have, you know, because our meetings are so far apart, there's always the option of requesting a special meeting. You know, and you know, if you want to get something done, if you want to get action taken, or if you want to get a report heard by the commission prior to the next scheduled meeting, because you're dealing with a deadline, you know, that's always an option as well.
So the ad hoc committee, if say there were 4 people, it would be fine if only, say, 2 or even 1 went on a site visit, but the committee itself would agree that these are the properties that we should really check out, right?
To a certain extent, it doesn't have to be so formalized.
So it doesn't, there's no agenda, it can be done by email? We
Yeah,
can
the
communicate
committee,
by
the
email?
committee members can communicate by email, you can talk to each other. That, you know, that's really the real benefit of creating a standing committee.
Would there be a specified term of office, so to speak, for this committee?
It's just annually, you know, when you do your elections, just, you know, reformation of the committee, you know, any new members, anybody wants to get off the committee, anybody wants to be added to the committee, and, you know, just amendments to the committee have to be agendized. So if the committee is going to be abandoned, abolished, or, you know, continued, you just discussion of, you know, agendized item, you know, that can accompany the elections. Discussion regarding necessity for standing investigatory committee and or any proposed changes.
So so I'm just trying to clarify in my mind, if say Alex, so she sends out we've got a committee and Alex sends out the nomination forms as they come in. And so the committee goes to see property Q. And so that would have to, that could be any time from probably June, well, we have one that already came in. So the committee would go see that, and then it would go on the agenda sometime after June, obviously, when we all have those nominations, which we don't really discuss until August.
The only thing the committee would be tasked with, I think, is articulating what they saw. You know, the committee is not going to be a special prioritizing committee. They're going to go out there and they're going to come back and they're going to report what they saw, what their feelings are.
But they would just add to what
The
was
discussion.
submitted.
Exactly,
Which
yeah.
would take place probably in August.
Yeah. That's probably the timeline,
Is it September?
September, whenever that meeting is.
Oh, okay, September. Okay.
Because, you know, as I look at this list, I mean, I'm new to this commission, but I'm fairly familiar with most of the properties, you know, just through.
Yeah.
You you know.
So we might only see 2 or 3 that we would feel
Yeah,
the
you
need to
know,
know more about.
I really doubt the committee, you know, any creative committee is gonna go to 11, 13 different properties.
Yeah, as long as I can remember, I think there were only 2 that I really wished I could visit.
I mean, say for example, this high property, I drive by it every day.
Yeah.
I just saw the clearing and the sign go up last week, the for sale sign.
Yeah.
And
So, I
so
mean-
the committee would need a chair that would, or someone who would just say, okay, I'll go contact the owner based on the
Nominee.
nominee. I mean, some of this is stuff for sale, and some of it's gated, and so someone from the committee would take on the task for a particular property.
However they want to.
Okay, very informal then.
Correct. That's the beauty of the committee.
My only thought on any of this, if it moves forward, is that the individuals or groups that are nominating those properties be contacted prior to site visit in case they want to meet you. And clearly, if there's a need to contact an owner, landowner, you don't end up trespassing.
Strongly recommend you
Yeah.
get consent before the committee
Yeah.
goes on anybody else's private
Yeah.
property.
Yeah.
And it's fine to have other people go on this as long as they're not commission members, like some of the people who might have nominated the property might be wanting to go to explain the nomination or the
I'd
owner.
be very leery of that. Then you start getting into, you know, you start opening up a can of worms. You don't want
Just
the,
lobby.
Special
yeah,
pressure,
you don't want
yeah.
the committee to be maybe persuaded or, you know, lobbyists come down.
I was just thinking of the legacy lands model, where sometimes the commissioners come out and meet with the people who are putting in grant applications, but I understand that caution as well.
Yeah, I just feel a little leery of that.
So if it's through a locked gate, then
We
somebody
have no
has
access.
to,
We have- Yeah, remember, the only person who can permit any county official onto their property, private property, is the owner. So if, you know, here in this case, you know, Carol Van Camp, I'm not sure what her relationship is with the Roman Catholic Church, but I would want to see some type of documentation that Carol has the authority to allow somebody on, you know, this piece of private property, you know, hopefully she's the listing realtor or something, and she has that authority, you know, to consent to the county coming, because absent consent, the county has no right to go on private property. You know, we're absent a warrant, absent, you know, police action, absent, you know, public health and safety
And that can be
necessity.
the case. I mean, the couple of purchases that were in Quahala started out with, you know, nominated by the community, and the landowners weren't ready or open for a purchase at that time, so, yeah, certainly there's examples of that.
but it would be fine for the, say, the realtor, say Carol Van Camp is the realtor, be fine for the realtor to go with the ad hoc committee, or for the landowner to go with the ad
Yeah,
hoc
that would be
committee?
fine. I mean, I would prefer that they are present. Whoever's providing us the authority to enter, I prefer they be present, because then there's no question as to what, you know, our legal basis for us being there.
But we would not encourage public.
You know, the problem with the public is that you have all these liability issues, you know, public, you know, who's responsible for these people coming onto somebody else's private property? I can assure you it's not the county. You know, if some member from the public goes on and, you know, trips over a rock and hits their head and gets a concussion, you know, doing this visit, I never told them to come.
I'm thinking more, when I say public, I'm thinking more of, say, a group that says that they're interested in taking on some of the future maintenance or the.
To me, that's not, that discussion wouldn't be appropriate at that time.
So
That
they-
discussion would be more appropriate to be had at the meeting when the whole commission is making a decision regarding the prioritized list. You know, because that is one of the components that should be considered or could be considered.
Right, because it's one of our criteria, our ranking criteria.
It's a good question. The Hilo Municipal Golf Course, that is on land that is owned by the county.
Yeah, that's common.
That is county. This is not.
This is a piece adjacent to the Mackay corner of the golf course that's owned by the Catholic Church. Let me tell you this, you know, I've had prior dealings with Catholic, you know, diocesan owned properties, and that's a bear to get through, you know, a purchase. You know, everything, you know, the decision making goes all the way back to
But it's posted
Rome.
as for sale,
It's posted as for sale, so that might be
so
something.
that would be one step.
So they have, it's not an easy process.
What's
A lot
that
of
Ken?
guys wearing robes in Rome.
Is that Ken Bergen on the?
Yeah.
Yes. That's right.
So just thinking of Alex, more than anything else right now, some of the proposals we get are pages and pages and pages and pages and pages and pages long. So it would be, she would scan that all and send that out, the whole proposal, or?
I'm not sure how you, that's more clerical, how they want to do, how Alex wants to handle it.
Usually
If
just the
ad
hard
hoc
copies.
committees created,
But we all get our hard copies as soon as she can get it out after June 30th. That's time enough for the ad hoc committee to.
Well, then they only have a few weeks before the next meeting that it has to go on. I guess it doesn't have to go on agenda by the particular property.
Wouldn't we get it by
It's just
July
have the report.
15th? And then, but we don't really start ranking it on July 15th. Don't we
No,
do that
it's
in
the
September?
following meeting, right,
So
September.
wouldn't that, if there's, wouldn't that give us time at that point to say we think someone should check into this or that?
Because if we give them the first half of July, and we don't have our formal discussion until the second Monday in September, that gives plenty of time.
I could send it electronically when I get it, but it usually comes in the last week of June
Yeah,
anyway.
that's what I'm thinking of, yeah. I mean, and some of them attach elaborate environmental assessment reports and all kinds of things to it.
Just a quick show of hands. I mean, obviously, we don't know everything there is to know about the formation of the, how effective it would be. But is there, just a quick show of hands, how many people would be interested in participating in the ad hoc?
The reason I'm holding back is because I'm doing some traveling and my term ends at the end of the year. I don't think I'll
we're
have
not
time.
letting you go.
That's right. Yeah, we're changing the charter.
I did my
Sit-
duty
sit- Tie
already.
her up in a closet or something.
But I have several trips planned, so I mean, I'm supposed to leave tomorrow night on one
I'm
trip,
working
but.
full-time, so I can't.
So
just
I
go back and
I don't wanna commit to it and then say,
They passed, I know.
but of course, I mean, even if I'm on the
It's-
committee,
it's on
if
time,
I
it's
couldn't
later.
go, I couldn't go, somebody else could go.
Who's Scott's bringing it?
Okay.
Okay, so I'll put my name in and do it if I can. If we need to and I can, then I'll do it.
Any other questions or comments regarding the formation of this ad hoc committee?
I think it's a good idea to go ahead and appoint one, whether we use it or not. We don't have to use it if we don't think there's any need for it. But that way it would be there and should, this is how I'm seeing the flow, that Alex gets all the proposals, gets them to us before our July 15th meeting. We would have time to do a quick review and see if there might be a few that would want further information. And then at that time, ask the ad hoc committee to look into it.
So you're, you're saying that this body would decide which properties should be visited by the ad hoc committee versus the ad hoc committee making that decision?
Not necessarily that we would have to decide it, just that would give us time enough to resolve it if we wanted. But I couldn't call the committee, if I were not on the committee, I couldn't look at them and then call the committee and say, go look into it. That's why I was thinking kind of at the meeting. The committee themselves could call each other and say, let's look at it, and report at the September meeting.
I agree with that. I mean, if you're gonna form it, then it might as well give them the tools, including the flexibility to.
So I mean, they might or might not even need to do anything.
Give it a try for a year or two and see how it works. It sounds like a great idea because it's frustrating not to be able to see some of these properties.
So I make a motion that we establish a committee, an ad hoc committee to an ad hoc investigative committee to conduct potential site visits on properties submitted by the public.
I second.
Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Any opposed? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So the committee is hereby established. Do we follow on and name the
You can
people?
just, you can create the, you can see if there's any volunteers who wants to serve on.
Okay, any volunteers?
More than 2, less than 4.
Okay. For the record, Mona, Tim, and Willie.
And who's going to be the chair?
Make the new guy.
Okay, so Tim will be the chairman of the ad hoc committee. Okay. So moving on, we were gonna have your report. Before I do, though, I forgot one thing, which was actually gonna be my report, or in my inquiry. Alex, last meeting, we said that we were gonna send the press release out to the media outlets. Did we do that?
Yes, we did. Mayor's office sent it out to all the different media.
So newspapers and radio, or just newspapers?
Newspapers, radio, everything. I actually
It was published in the Kahu News.
this was on the front page of
Ah, yeah,
Kahu.
there it is.
Oh,
So that's one of them.
cool. It was in yellow. Oh, good.
Just could I give just a follow-up statement before Kim's report?
Sure.
We heard Ms. Mahi give her presentation today regarding consideration for traditional Native Hawaiian practices and cultural resources and the like. And I just wanted to place on the record that when you look at our assessment criteria form, the purposes we have for suggestions, specifically listed as purpose of suggesting site for public acquisition or project. If you look at the criteria, we have 5. And number 1 is public outdoor recreation and education, including access to beaches and mountains, preservation of historic or culturally important land areas and sites, protection of natural resources, including buffer zones, preservation of forests, beaches, coastal areas, natural beauty, and agricultural lands, and the final is protection of watershed lands to preserve water quality and water supply. So, part of our assessment process or criteria involves a lot of the type of information that, Ms. Mahi was presenting today. And I just wanted to place that on the record.
Good. That's a good point. Okay, so,
Finance?
Mr. Finance.
Hawaii's progressing. We're in the middle of the AIS, Archaeological Inventory Survey, that was requested by Shifty for the SMA approval. And the SMA is part of the subdivision that we have to go through to purchase the 26 acres. We're subdividing that out of the 35. We should have the EIS done approximately May 23rd. And then Shifty has 45 days to review it. The CDUA was submitted to DLNR about a week and a half ago, and they have officially 180 days to review it, although they've already preliminarily approved it. All that means is hopefully we'll get the subdivision wrapped up sometime in maybe June at the earliest. And once it's subdivided, we can legally move forward with the purchase. So best case, probably sometime in July. Could slip to August, September, depending on the agencies involved in their approval process. But we're definitely progressing, and so that's good. We did have 2 more resos just pass.
Which one?
So we had number 10 and number 13 on this year's list, which was the White Sands 10 acres next to Papa Park, was number 10, and then number 13 was the one by the hot springs down in Puna. Those are the 2 that were on today's agenda for Finance Committee. So the list is continuing to grow, which is good. Just gotta get these resos approved before we can move towards acquisition. We did, the Yellow Book appraisal for the Kauku, 3,000 acres should be in sometime this month. And that, we needed to get that to exercise our grant that we received from them, from the feds, RLAI, US Fish and Wildlife. So we have about 1.2 million in grants that we can access once we get that.
That's for the piece that's Mackay of the highway where,
It's doesn't
By
about
the
the highway,
lake?
but yes, Mackay, yeah,
okay.
yeah. About a 45-minute trek down to get to the ocean from the highway, but yeah, that was on the list a couple years ago. We are working with, in communication with the folks in Hawaii, or Kapaa, for the acre there, the Banyan Tree Park. And we have some things to prioritize, you know, it's been really busy for finance and for the mayor. May's a crazy month because of budget, so that was submitted last week, so hopefully we can get some things set and then move forward with some appraisals and some more acquisitions. The fund has about 4.1 million in it right now, so we got some funds available, which is good. That's about it.
Now, Marilyn, you said that in Kauai, what was the fund that you said was limited?
It was the PONC fund for Kauai, they're looking at reducing the percentage to balance their budget.
Their percentage is already smaller than ours.
It was
isn't it?
0.5%.
Yeah.
It was like the smallest ever.
Yeah, it's
But Kauai
in today's paper.
Open, I mean, it's much smaller,
Smaller.
populous,
Yeah.
and island, and a lot of it's government owned. I mean, military owns
That's right.
a ton of it, and a lot of it's inaccessible.
Okay. And can you update on the vacation land?
Oh, I need to get that earlier. Right now, the resolution was just passed, so, right now we haven't done anything on it as far as appraisal or
It
anything.
still has to go through full council, that was just finance committee, I think, passed it.
I think that one was approved already.
Oh, right,
Vacation
sorry.
land?
Vacation land,
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
done.
that one.
Sorry, I was thinking of the two you just said.
No, yeah,
Last
those
one
two
was
have to go to
the-
council
yeah,
still, yes.
apologies.
2 weeks, yeah. So, so vacation land, theoretically, we could get appraisal and, probably need to do that pretty quick, try to find out what we're talking about money wise.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, well, we're moving quite expediently, which is good. The next meeting is scheduled for Monday, July 14th, at 10 a.m. at the conference room at the West Hawaii Civic Center. Any items that we wanted to discuss to be included in that agenda, in the agenda for the next meeting?
This is way out of order, but can we like cancel lunch for today so that we don't?
It's already bought.
It's already too late already.
Unfortunately.
Because we're gonna be
Out of here.
down here.
Any items for that agenda?
So we have our standard things, and then we'll be,
We'll just received all of them.
will we need to have agenda item just to discuss how we're proceeding?
Well, my thinking until now, from what I've seen, is at this point, we'll have all the properties that are submitted, and then we'll have the presentations for those that are making those come, correct? And making those presentations, so it's gonna be a full schedule in that sense. Was there any other discussions beyond just those presentations?
We probably should have a report just on the agenda, whether they have one or not, a report to the ad hoc committee, just in case they
Yeah, in
do
case we see something.
So it would be
and-
standard from here on till the December meeting or November meeting.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll have that. There should be quite a bit of activity now with the properties coming in, with the apps coming in. Okay. Anything else? Well, if there is no more comments, then I think it's okay for us to adjourn. Meeting adjourned.